Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. And this is going to be the first of what I decided to do with that gallon bag of pureed pumpkin from last year's garden. I actually have 4 of those, so I'm going to just probably make this a whole video of different things that I do, because a lot of people their pumpkins are starting to, they need to be used up by this point, by January. So I am going to make I have some yeast starter, and the video of how and why I have this is down in the description box. The video is called How I Make All the Bread I Want from 1 Packet of Yeast. So this is my yeast, and I am going to make some chocolate chip pumpkin rolls. I thought, like a dinner roll, and I thought that that would be really delicious and something that we could eat for breakfast, snack, whatever. It'd be really good with some nice, good sweet cream butter. That just makes my mouth water. So I'm going to start out getting my yeast ready. So this is just 1 cup of very warm water. I know most breads you use 2 or 2.5 cups, but this is homegrown pumpkin puree, so all the water is not taken out. So I know that there's quite a bit of moisture in there, so I don't want to overhydrate my dough and make it really hard, or have to really hard to work with, or have to add a lot of flour to it. So I'm just going to add 1 cup of water. And if you're using a packet of yeast at this point, you would proof your yeast. You would pour your yeast and your sugar in and let it get all bubbly, and then start from this point. But because I already did that by making my yeast starter, I don't have to do that. So I'm just going to take half of this yeast starter and pour it into my water. I'm just going to mix it into the water really good. Now, to keep this going, I'm going to feed it when I'm done, and I just add 1 cup water, 1 cup flour, put it on the stove, let it double, and it's ready to make my next bread thing. So on days that I'm cooking a lot of bread, I like to do this so I'm not using as much yeast. For me, keeping a sourdough starter doesn't always work. So this way I found that I can do it, and it's much quicker than a sourdough starter because it's just dry active yeast. Just activated and kept off to the side and ready to go throughout the day. So here is 2 cups, or the equivalent of 1 15-ounce can of pureed pumpkin. I'm going to add this in the liquid stage because I think that that makes the most sense. I'm not following a recipe. I'm totally making this up on my own, and I'm pretty sure it's going to turn out, because I've done this slightly similar recipe to this with raisins and cinnamon, and it was delicious. So now just gonna get that egg incorporated, and I'm going to add some cinnamon and sugar. I'm not sure if I want to add pumpkin pie spice or not. I did get it out, but I'm not sure if I want to add it. So I'm just going to eyeball, I'm going to say like 1/4 cup of cinnamon and sugar. Because I do want this to be sweet, but not like a cookie sweet. Just going to mix that in. Now we have this beautiful orange mixture, and it smells so good with that pumpkin and the cinnamon and sugar. Oh yeah, that smells delicious. Now I'm going to start adding, actually I think I'm going to put the chocolate chips in now, because this is where I would put the raisins in if I was using raisins. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put the chocolate chips in. Used about half of this bag. About half. Alrighty, just going to stir those in, and now I'm going to start adding my flour. Now my typical bread recipes use 4 to 6 cups of flour. So I'm going to start out with 4 cups of flour, and these are heaping, so they're probably more like a cup and a quarter. Okay, and we will go from there. I may have to add just a little bit more water since I didn't add that much water. I don't know, I'm gonna make that decision here in a second. Actually, now that it's coming together better, I think it's perfect. So the 4 cups of flour was pretty good. Now I'm going to knead this like I would any other bread dough, and then just let it rise like I would any other bread dough. That's what I did with the cinnamon raisin bread that I made, and it worked out perfect. Once you've learned the basics of something, it's really easy to like make your own recipes because you know basically how things work together. And so it makes it much easier. All right, now I'm just gonna add little bits of flour at a time so I don't get this dough too stiff. I want a nice, soft, fluffy roll. Words escape me sometimes, so that's okay. Alright, as soon as we get the rest of this flour incorporated, I'm going to flour my counter and turn this out. I'm just going to put some flour on the counter and turn this out. I can see it's still just a little bit wetter than I want it to be, so I'm going to go really slow and add just small amounts of flour to it until it gets to be as dry as I know it should be from working with the bread. And what that consistency you're looking for is it no longer sticks to your hands. It may still be sticky, but when you press it, it doesn't like come off on your fingers like this is. Let me wash my hands real fast, get this off, so then I can continue to knead, because the more dough you have on your hands, the more it will stick to your hands. All right, perfect. Now, get my hands all good and dry, and give her a go. See, it's still coming off on, that's what I'm looking for, that to go away. I'll just take the flour and flour my hands up real good. Once it's no longer sticking to me in little bits like that, I know it'll be ready. I'm gonna go ahead and add some more flour. I think we're about at 5 cups now. See, if I would have added my normal amount of water with that pumpkin, this would have been, I would have used so many cups of flour. I would have had way more than I wanted, and it just would have been a mess. So when I add something wet, because I did this with pumpkin pie filling once, and I used my regular amount of water, I didn't realize, and it was a mess. So my rule of thumb is just act like there's more moisture in it than you think, and go light on your water. You have to use some water to get your yeast going, but you don't have to use a lot. There we go. Now we're starting to come to the point, oh, then it stuck to me right at that moment when it wasn't sticking to me. Let me get some of this off my hands. We're coming to the point though where it's mostly not sticking to my hands and coming off on my hands anymore. Man, I can't wait to eat these. I'm not hungry because we just had breakfast not that long ago, but this is making me hungry. It smells so, so good. Put some honey and butter on it. Still having spots that are a little bit on the stickier side, but by the time I get all this flour worked in, it'll be fine. And it's not going to be too stiff. All right, at this point, I'm thinking I may remove some of that flour because I am coming to the point where I don't think I need it on there anymore. I don't want to add any more flour. We're right where I want it to be. It's sticky, but it's no longer coming off onto me, and that's what I was looking for. And if it starts to stick to me again, I can just put just a tiny bit of flour on my hands so I'm not adding too much flour to the dough. Once I have this a nice smooth consistency, I'm going to go ahead and oil my bowl and put my bread back in to rise. All right, we're just about where I would like it. And here's a little trick. If it's still a little stickier than you like, oil your bowl, throw it in your bowl, and let it rise for a while, and then go back and knead it a little bit more, because at that point the liquid has absorbed the flour. It's sticky, but it's not sticking to you, and you're gonna have a nice soft bread. Alrighty. So I'm going to oil that bowl. And then I'm just going to roll my dough ball in the oil and let it rise. Depending on how warm your house is, it could be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. Alrighty. Now I'm going to cover it with a towel, or in my case, I have some little elastic bowl covers that I made. And there we go. Now I'm going to put it over here where it's warm and let it rise. Alrighty, let's finish up these pumpkin chocolate chip. Like I said, I was gonna make like a roll with them. We'll see. It took this dough a lot longer than my regular bread dough to rise. It's been rising for several hours, so I just want to see the consistency, because I was thinking I could always do like a bagel, but actually I think they're going to make gorgeous rolls. So I think I'm going to, this is a nice big dough. I'm just trying to think how many I want to do, if I should do 12 or 24. I'm thinking 24, because typically in a batch like this, I'll get like 24 hamburger or hot dog buns. So I'm thinking that's what we'll do, is 24. Let's just get an idea of what that would look like. Alrighty. So we got 4 pieces, and now if we cut each of our 4 pieces into thirds, that'll give us 12. Oh yeah, I think that is a good roll size right there. And then I'm just going to round it off. And I'm going to put them on my pan. I got my pizza pan here because that's my biggest baking sheet at the moment. And I'm just going to, starting in the middle, I'm just going to build them out of course, when you're making rolls, you want them to touch. They just do better that way. And this is definitely a sticky dough, but it's not like sticking to me, you know what I'm saying? Like I showed you earlier, there's no bits like sticking to me. I'm just taking my hand and pushing the dough over on itself. Well, there's the oven preheated. Once I get these rolled out, I'm going to cover them loosely and let them set to rise for about 30 minutes. Alrighty, I'm just going to finish rolling these out real quick and getting them all on the pan. And like I said, I'm going to let them rise for about 30 minutes. Then I'm going to bake them at 400 degrees for between 15 and 20 minutes. Here are the pumpkin chocolate chip rolls. Just look at those. They smell so good. They're too hot to pull apart at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer them to a towel so the bottom doesn't get soggy, and we're just going to let them cool. And when they're fully cooled, we'll pull them apart. I think we're going to go ahead and taste test one while it's nice and warm.